All right, we are on to Jake's team. Um, and as I mentioned, there are four tiers of grades. We have three people in tier two, we have two people in tier three, and one person in tier one gone. So that's what's left on the board. If you haven't been ranked yet and you're listening along, what will Jake do? And where will he slot in? Well, he's got a great keeper at Nico Collins in the 12th. I'm not a Nico believer this year, but even if you're going to say he's like a third round pick, to keep him in the 12th is very, very good no matter what, right? Um, and where does he do after that? He goes AJ Brown with the seventh overall selection, Josh Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Keenan Allen, David Njoku, Nick Chubb, DeAndre Hopkins, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Nico, Marshawn Lloyd, Taysom Hill. Okay. Um, Best picks on this team are 100% my favorite pick is Kenneth Walker in the fourth round. He's going to be a great RB2 for this squad, I believe. He has high upside, touchdown upside on the Seahawks. He's just going to be solid, I think, as an RB2. I almost like him more than Josh Jacobs. I think if I was staring down Josh Jacobs and Kenneth Walker, I might press draft on Kenneth Walker. I'm not kidding. Um, I'm just not kidding about that. I think he's more talented. I think he's more in the prime of his career. I think he's on an offense that has less mouths to go around and less mouths to feed, essentially. So I love Kenneth Walker in the fourth round. It's a great pick. His worst pick is going to be Keenan Allen and David Njoku. What he did in the sixth and seventh round, I do not like. I think Keenan Allen's old. I think he's done so much, but to have him as your wide receiver three, I feel like it's a little bit of a waste. Look at all these seasons he's played. He's 32. Last year he kind of did it out of necessity and just out of catching a million footballs because Mike Williams was hurt. I don't know if he's going to see that same volume, and I don't know if that's going to work out. I don't like the Njoku pick. I know he was really good last year, but I feel like that was his ceiling. I feel like he was amazing. I feel like he was so good. He played all 16 games. He's only tight end six. It's 123 targets, only tight end six. I don't think he sees 123 targets again. I think Deshaun's worse than Flacco. Flacco was always a tight end feeder. Um, and I don't think I can't name off the top of my head one guy who's been a good tight end from Deshaun Watson. Let's look at his game log. Do I know ball? Oh, look at all those games that he played with Deshaun Watson early in the year before he got hurt. 3 points, 5 points, 4 points, 9 points, 4 points, 9 points. Oh, when does Joe Flacco come in? I'm guessing somewhere around week 8. And then he turns into a really good player. But yeah, I'm not on David Njoku, and I don't know who you're going to replace him with. It's not going to be Taysom Hill. So hopefully you get good on the waiver wire. Um, those are his worst picks. The strength of this team is quarterback with Mahomes, um, and then the RB2 with Kenneth Walker, and the wide receiver two and one. AJ Brown, Nico Collins is a very good duo. Am I super high on either of them? No. Will I also be super shocked if they both aren't like right in the top 15? Yes. So that's a good core to build around. Um, the weakness on this team is going to be the flex and the tight end and the bench. Maybe I should go to a different view just to. I should be going to a different view here more often. I'm betting everyone's just listening to this anyway, but just for myself um, to look at his team a little bit better. Yeah, he's got Jerome Ford slotted in there. 15-point projection for Jerome Ford is nuts. I'm sorry. How many times did he score 15 points last year and they've got him projected 15? Yeah, that's what I thought. So out of the last, from week 8 to week 18, Jerome Ford was the guy, and he scored over 15 points. And we'll give him credit for his 14-point weeks. 3 times out of the last 10 weeks. But yeah, let's project him for 15 points week 1. That is horrific. Um, Montgomery will be a very, very touchdown dependent flex. And beyond that, oh boy, I hope you don't have to start anyone. Maybe Keenan Allen will be good to slot in there, but I don't really love the flex spot for this team. I think as the season goes on, that'll become even more apparent as you're getting not as much as you expect out of Jacobs in that RB1 slot. So, um, man, the projections for these points look way different than what I would have expected. I mean, this is all like best case stuff for all these players. I don't see it. Best case for this team would be Mahomes just throws a million touchdowns. Jacobs takes all the goal line work. Kenneth Walker turns into like a top 5 RB. Diggs doesn't command any extra targets. And maybe Tank Dell's slow to get back in the season. Njoku doesn't regress. Nick Chubb's come back and he's a stud. I don't know. How many of those are likely to happen? A couple? I don't think they're all happening. Worst case for this team, this is a very touchdown dependent team. And if A.J. Brown and David Montgomery aren't getting their touchdowns, and if Pacheco's running a lot of them in instead of Mahomes passing them, you could see this team really having some really, really low weeks. That's kind of what I project. I see this as like a boom or bust squad. Like on weeks when Mahomes throws 3D TDs and AJ Brown catches two, or Kenneth Walker and Josh Jacobs will score. Yeah, it's going to look really great. But then there's going to be some dud weeks when these guys don't find the end zone, and I see a lot of touchdown dependent players here. So I think that's going to be what is going to bite this team, in some certain spots. It's hard looking at these point projections, but I gave this team a D. Like, I did not think he drafted well. These point projections are crazy. He's got his software going, telling him to make these picks. I freaking hate the Josh Jacobs pick. I don't like Montgomery in the fifth. I don't like Njoku. I don't like Keenan Allen. I guess they're projecting AJ Brown and Nico Collins to just be crazy good. I don't see it. I don't see Mahomes being the QB3. I think he'll come back down to earth a little bit. This is a tier 4 team. No chance at the championship. I just don't see the upside with these guys. I think he could miss the play. He could make the playoffs. Like I said, he's gonna have some spike weeks. Maybe that'll help him for victory points. So maybe I'm underestimating because of the touchdown dependency. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with my initial intuition. This is a tier 4 D draft grade for Jake.